This is a game between the World Championship contenders. We got Ding Liren of China versus Jan Nepomniachtchi of Russia. And these are the two gentlemen that will be facing off early next year, early 2023, for the World Championship title. So we got Jan Nepomniachtchi playing the black pieces, Ding Liren playing the white pieces. Um, let's just go ahead and get right into the game. So Ding Liren starts off with d4, pawn to d4. So we got the queen's pawn game. And Jan Nepomniachtchi responds with knight to f6. And so we have a king's Indian. And now Ding Liren plays pawn to c4. And Nepomniachtchi goes ahead and plays pawn to g6. And this is book opening so far. Everything is pretty normal. This has been played hundreds of thousands of times in top level play. So a very, in master play, this has been played hundreds of thousands of times. But as soon as Ding Liren plays this strange move here, now there's only many hundreds of games that have been played like this. And actually, Ding Liren, he plays this fairly often. I covered another game of his recently where he played this strange move. So yeah, this is a pretty obscure line at this point just because of that weird move. And Nepomniachtchi plays one of the least, well, the most popular move in this position is just going ahead and playing bishop to g7. But Jan Nepomniachtchi instead plays pawn to d4 here, which is also a well-known move, though. This is definitely a strong move. Definitely no problems with that. And Liren, of course, captures, which is, fairly normal in this position. It should be an advantage for white to a small extent, at least, because black now has one less pawn in the center of the board. And since we're supposed to control the center of the board, it seems like it gives a bit of an advantage to white. And Nepomniachtchi recaptures with a knight, so knight takes d5. And then that knight gets chased away right away with pawn to e4. Ding Liren plays pawn to e4. And again, this is a rare situation. This hasn't happened all that much. At this point, I think there's only a couple dozen games that have gone to this point. And the computer does recommend playing knight to f6, but in all of the games that knight to f6 was played, white won the game. So maybe Nepomniachtchi wanted to try something different, so he plays knight to b6 here, rather than what was recommended to be the strongest move. Not liking the result of the past games. So knight to b6 is played by Nepomniachtchi, and now Ding Liren goes ahead and plays the very strong knight to c3. I say very strong. This is just a great move in just about any game, developing the knight towards the center. And now finally, Nepomniachtchi plays bishop to g7, getting that bishop activating, putting a lot of pressure on the d4 pawn. He's got, well, I guess there's only two attackers there. So the bishop comes out to defend, bishop to e3, defending that pawn, getting a second defender on the pawn. And now Jan Nepomniachtchi goes ahead and castles. And now Ding Liren plays queen to d2. And often, so I play this opening also. So that's kind of why we're looking at it from black's perspective. I don't play what white is playing, I play what black is playing. So yeah. And often the case may be that they're going to try to trade off the dark squared bishops, perhaps. That happens a lot, leaving kind of a hole around the king's castle here. That doesn't actually happen here, though. Here, Nepomniachtchi develops his knight to c6, and then Ding Liren castles queenside. Okay, so there were some changes in move sequence, but now this game has actually been played many dozens of times. And strangely, the most popular move is actually castling to the queenside, which is not very intuitive as far as I'm concerned, because I usually don't expect somebody to castle queenside if they're missing their c-pawn. This seems pretty dangerous, but of course, Ding Liren, being the world championship contender, he knows what he's doing here. Now, Nepo goes ahead and moves his queen to d6. Probably a better move for black would have just been going ahead and playing pawn to e5, maybe trading off queens. At this level of play, the grandmasters a lot of times are very happy to take a draw as black and play for a win when they're white. So, trading the queens off the board is more likely going to lead to a drawish situation. So that makes some sense. And of course, now Ding Liren gains a tempo here by attacking the queen, and of course she's got to get out of harm's way. Unfortunately, the best place for the queen right now is queen to d7, kind of stifling the production of this bishop here. That bishop's not going to get out of there, and so Liren kind of loses a tempo here, but of course he's going to gain one back in a second as he chases the knight away. Liren decides to go ahead and get his king a little safer here. Definitely a strong move, getting the king safe. But probably the best move is pawn to d or h4, excuse me, just commencing the attack on the king's castle, black's king castle. But all right, this is a fine move. Not really a problem. And now we do see that knight being kicked. So Liren moves the knight back to c3. And now Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld brings his rook to the center, the strongest move that could be played in the position. And now Liren goes ahead and attacks the knight. And that was, again, the strongest move in the position. And now Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld just goes ahead and gets his queen out of the way. And now, of course, you're not going to take the knight because of the pin to the queen. So Liren goes ahead and gets his queen out of harm's way as well. And now the knight, of course, has to move. And a bit of a strange square he picks here. So this is definitely not the strongest square for the knight. Knight on the rim near the corner. That can't be good. It would have been better to probably move the knight to d5, according to Stockfish, the computer system I have analyzing this. But I think the idea is he's hoping to maybe trade the knight and just going to weaken the defenses around the king. And now we see the move h4. So Liren now commencing the attack on black's king side. And we do see that move knight to b5, looking for maybe a trade. I mean, if knight captures, pawn probably captures, and then you've got the rook bearing down on this a2 pawn, which not real safe for the king. So Liren goes ahead and develops his knight, kind of making a two-headed knight monster here. If you take his knight, another knight appears, sort of thing. And now Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld goes ahead and plays pawn to pawn to e6, putting pressure on the pawn. And Liren continues his pawn attack here with pawn to h5. And now Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld goes ahead and grabs the d pawn with e captures on d5. And then we have pawn captures on g6. So Liren goes ahead and grabs the pawn around the castle. And Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld captures with f captures g6. Interestingly, the computer was saying it was better to capture the other way. I guess normally you are supposed to capture toward the center, so maybe that has something to do with it. And now Liren goes ahead and sacrifices his bishop for the knight, which not real common in Grandmaster play to trade a bishop for a knight, but it's going to lead to some pretty heinous, meaning very ugly, pawn structure here for Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld. And now Ding Liren goes ahead and grabs this central pawn, and Nepo Neo-Gruenfeld, so it was knight captures on d5. Now bishop comes to e6, pressuring that knight. And now we have that like two-headed knight monster thing appearing again. So if you take my knight, I'll have another knight. And this also attacks the bishop. So Liren played knight to f4 on the last move, and now the bishop is going to go back to f7. And now, yeah, exactly. So the bishop now captures the knight. So again, in Grandmaster play, it's really strange to see a bishop traded for a knight, but of course, this pawn structure is disgusting. That is not good. Extremely weak, and we'll see if Liren could take advantage of that horrendous pawn structure. So Nepo retains the bishop pair, which is usually a huge advantage compared to having a pair of knights. But yeah, this weakness here might be too much to deal with. We'll go ahead and see. So Liren plays pawn to a3, which bit of an obscure move. Not quite sure why that was played. Strongest move recommended by the engine, Stockfish engine, is pawn to g4 here, just kind of going after the king. But all right. Nepo actually blunders here, kind of missing. So he plays pawn to g5. And maybe you want to pause your video for a second. So you can see that evaluation bar now swung wildly to White's favor. White's totally winning now. Um, maybe pause your video for a second if you're watching a video and think about what you would do in this position. Cheryl, what would you do?
No, can you just go back?
Oh, okay. How far back?
Yes, here. Why don't they play queen takes bishop?
Queen takes bishop instead. That's a good question. So why not play queen takes bishop? Yeah, it's kind of. I think maybe, Nepo was hoping to attack this pawn, get that.
Yeah, and like we take with the pawn, and then they push the pawn to a3. I think because they want to play knight takes b6, but that the rook and the bishop is attacking a2.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so this is not. So yeah, the queen captures is not the best move. Definitely. In fact, it's calling it. It is a blunder. Um, starting with okay. So if bishop captures, knight e7 is supposed to be played first. The king would probably go to f8, and then knight fd5, just kind of keeping the king there, and it just ends up being kind of a dangerous situation. The line is pretty long, but yeah, it does make sense to maybe hold your pawn structure together to capture with the queen instead, but that is not what went down here. Let's see, we've got to get back to where we were. So instead, yeah, Nepo captures with the pawn, creating this incredibly horrible pawn structure, tripled pawns here. And then, so yeah, I guess the a3 move really just to deal with the threat of the rook, perhaps. And then yeah, Nepo makes this blunder here, and yeah, it's now Ding Liren's game to win or lose here. And Liren goes ahead and plays the best move in the position. It says it's a brilliant move. It seems kind of obvious to me that would be a move you play. Although I suppose the knight is hanging. Maybe you try to save the knight first or something. But yeah, obviously Nepo needs to save his queen, so he plays queen to e5, almost threatening checkmate. If the queen was somewhere else, that would be threatening checkmate on b2. But with the queen there, it's not that big of a deal. So Liren goes ahead and grabs the rook on a8, and Nepo recaptures the knight on a8. And it seems like Nepo pieces are kind of out of they're not very well coordinated. He's got this horrible pawn structure. So Ding Liren should be able to take advantage of this position. And considering he is one of the strongest, he's the second highest rated player in the world right now. So this rating here, 2791, that's during this game, which this game was played in 2020. Ding Liren is now rated 2811. He is the highest rated player besides Magnus Carlsen in the world. Nepo is right up there too. I think he's third or fourth. And he's just under 2,800 right now. So nice little outpost for the knight, although the knight will find a better outpost here in a moment. Nepomniachtchi plays, oh, so yeah, the move was knight to d5, and now Nepomniachtchi plays pawn to h6. And Liren goes ahead and offers a queen trade here. He plays queen to c3. And Nepomniachtchi's not interested in the queen trade. He's down 2 points here. Queen trade's not going to do him any good. So he goes ahead and pulls his queen back, getting her out of the way and unleashing a discovered attack on Liren's queen. So of course Liren has to reposition his queen, and he moves his queen to b4. And now Nepomniachtchi gets his king off the back rank and heads over to h7. And we have rook to rook to d2 by Liren. And Nepomniachtchi brings his rook back into the action, rook to c8 here. Rooks are happy on open files. Go ahead, Cheryl.
You seem what's Magnus Carlsen's rating?
Yeah, you can check 365chess.com. That's a good place to check the live ratings of all the players. But I think it's like 2850 something. Yeah, in that range. Yeah. But yeah, 365chess.com that has like all the top rated players on the homepage. So yeah, we had rook to c8 there, and now Liren goes ahead and again offers a queen trade. He is up 2 points, and with the queens off the board, it would be an easy win for Liren. So he's happy to trade queens if Nepomniachtchi wants to. Nepomniachtchi does not want to trade queens because yeah, he's down. You don't want to trade when you're down, of course. So he plays queen to g6. And now Liren picks up one of Black's pawns here. These tripled pawns, really hard to guard. And Jan Nepomniachtchi, just trying to hold the game together, plays rook to c6. But there's not a lot that can be done here. The position is pretty terrible, considering now he's down 3 points. And so he does play rook to c6, guarding the pawn there. And of course, the rook is guarded by the queen. So Liren goes ahead and plays queen to d7. And now there's, again, like I said, not much to do. So Nepomniachtchi plays rook to c5 now. So moving the rook on consecutive moves here. I'm not really sure what the purpose of that move is, but it was decent considering the position. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Then what's Ding Liren's rating?
Ding Liren's rating is 2811, I believe, right now. Of course, this is their rating during this game. So that's what I've got on screen is their rating during the game. But yeah, Ding Liren is now rated 2811. And I think Nepomniachtchi is rated 2790 something. Just a little bit higher than it is 2 years ago. Okay, so yeah, rook to c5 played here. And now Liren trying to get a outpost for his knight. He attacks the queen, and of course, Nepomniachtchi needs to move his queen. And now we have knight to f5. And it was on this move, so in this position, we're 34 moves into the game. Nepomniachtchi then resigned the game. So this is the end of the game. He's down 3 points. This knight is basically impossible to move. I mean, you could sacrifice your bishop maybe for that knight, but the cost is just too high. You don't want to trade when you're down. And Nepomniachtchi looking across the board at Ding Liren knows that Liren is not going to mess up this game. And so, yeah, that's the end of the game. He resigns. You might check out, I have been covering a lot of the games between these two gentlemen. So check out my videos. I think I've posted 4 of them already. This is a world championship preview. So we get to see the 2 players who will play for the world championship at the beginning of next year, beginning of 2023. So I think they're good games to take a look at. Anyway, thank you for joining me for that. Take care.